welcome to my channel. Alright guys, so today I wanted to talk to you about podcasts, why we love them, and which ones we love, just so you can get some inspiration to listen to them, or maybe you're trying to find a new good podcast, so I want to give you some titles you might like. I'm going to hop onto my podcast app because I feel like I have quite a bit on there and I want to remember all of them. Okay, so I listen to podcasts through this purple little app. I don't know if you can see it. If not, I'll insert a picture. It's different, I think, on each phone. Like iPhones have that naturally, but you can listen to it, I believe, through Spotify and other things. I had to download an app for P to listen to it on his phone. He has an Android. So let's jump into why I like to listen to podcasts. As you know, I don't watch much TV. We just are so much more productive without watching TV. At night, I'm trying to wean myself off of having to have the TV on when P's not here sometimes, so that's hard, but I'm working on it. Podcasts just help me be able to do things without having to pay attention to something. I can be listening. I am an auditory learner, so that helps, but I'm doing the dishes and I can listen to a podcast. I'm in the shower, I can listen to a podcast, and I take it with me when I go in the car instead of having to listen to the radio and the commercials and everything else. I can listen to the podcast, and I have a connector that helps me connect the phone to the car or whatever so that I can hear it in the car. You know, all the fancy stuff, the technical stuff. But I love listening to them because, one, they're usually pretty inspiring, and I'm going to do a video, which I'll link down below, on what inspires me, what keeps me going, and what makes me feel or have a positive outlook. So I'll do that video. I'll have that link down below. But as far as what we listen to, I like to listen to different things. Sometimes I like to listen to crime stuff. Sometimes I like to listen to comedy. Sometimes I like to listen to business stuff or saving advice. And I'm sure there's a lot more podcasts that we would love to listen to. So if you have any that I'm not listening to, then you can leave them down below and we'll check them out. But yeah, it's just super interesting. I can listen to them on my walk. You know, I love listening to music, and most of the time you'll come into our apartment and there's something, we're not very quiet. There's always something on. I rarely have a time where it's completely silent. It's just not our style, I guess. But when music's not playing, it's podcasts and vice versa. So what podcasts do we listen to? P and I listen to pretty much the same podcasts. He listens to some darker ones as far as haunting stuff, and I don't listen to that just because it freaks me out way too much. So I'm just going to go one by one on my list. So I listen to my midwife's podcast, which is Chatting with the Midwife, and Renee the Midwife. And then I listen to Influencer Podcast. And then I also listen to The Fighter and the Kid. I love that podcast. It is Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen, and it's just a great podcast, really interesting most of the time. Some people have a hard time with it, but I love it. I also listen to The King and the Sting, which is Theo Von and Brendan Schaub, and it's about just pretty much comedy. Both of them are kind of interesting, there's some perspective in it, but it's also pretty funny and lighthearted. P listens to Detective. I actually haven't listened to it yet, but it's basically about cases that this one detective has gone through and just his experience. Crimes of Passion is one that I love. I started when it first started. It was the Jodi Arias episodes, and that's super interesting to me. If you don't know, P's going to school to do forensics. He has a degree in administration of justice, and he's working on his second associates and bachelor's in biology to do forensics. So, and I've always loved investigating, and I've always been interested in criminal stuff. Growing up, my dad read all the serial killer books and the mob books. It's just so interesting. I know it's not for everyone, but it is really interesting to see what's in these people's minds and learn about them. So Yeah, so that's what draws me to those. Also with Crimes of Passion, we like Unsolved Murders. And then I also listen to the Dave Ramsey podcast. It's really interesting. P didn't really listen to it as much, but it is sometimes interesting to hear what people are doing or how they're spending their money and his perspective on it. We always stay on like a tight budget and we're good with our money, but some people need the extra help, and it's always nice to listen to see what other people are doing and get ideas or learn from their mistakes. And then Business Boutique is also something that's interesting. But if I'm completely honest, what I listen to most of the time is Crimes of Passion, The Fighter and the Kid, King and the Sting, and my Midwives podcast. Those are my top 4 podcasts. So I will try to link them down below if I can do that. If not, I'll just put their titles for you guys to check them out. But I just wanted to let you guys know what we listen to, why we listen to them, and maybe you'll be on the same journey. I actually started with podcasts, and then somebody had talked to me about them and been like, oh, you should try podcasts. And I was like, is it free? Like, is it, I didn't really understand what it was or anything like that. And it's totally free. You can actually download them so you don't have to use your data to listen to them. You can listen to them on the plane, anywhere you go. So that's what I love. So P actually listens to them instead of music when he's working out, when he has a chance at work or anything like that. So, and I listen to them at home most of the time, or when I'm out on our road trip, we listen to podcasts. Pretty much anywhere we drive together, we'll usually put on a podcast just because it's way better than hearing the commercials of the radio. But it's completely free. Many people have a podcast. Dax Shepard has Armchair Expert. That's also interesting. Sometimes I'll listen to that. But it'll also refer you, like, hey, you might like this one, you might like this one. Or some of the podcasts are sponsored by the same, like, mother company, and they'll kind of mention other podcasts, and you could check those out. But then I started talking to P about it, and I started listening to them with him, and he fell in love with them. So I hope that you love podcasts as much as us. Like I said, let us know what you listen to down below, because we're curious. And just thank you so much for watching this video. Like if you like, please subscribe if you're not already, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!